Hi folks, in this tutorial we're going to continue looking at rust, and we're going to turn this bright and shiny metallic barrel into something that looks like it's been left out in the rain for 200 years and that you'll catch something nasty if you cut yourself on it. Perfect for post-apocalyptic games or for games of Warhammer 40,000. This barrel has been given a base coat of black metal from scale 75 and had a quick dry brush of Stormhost silver from Games Workshop. The winged eagle and skull have been given a coat of Hashut copper from Games Workshop, but any silvers and gold or copper colours will work for the purpose of this tutorial. For the first stage in our weathering, we'll be using Citadel's Wyldwood. Now this is from their contrast range, and we'll be using it slightly differently to its intended purpose. We will start by applying some of the Wyldwood to the palette, and then we are going to be thinning this down with quite a lot of water. The consistency we are looking for is very similar to a wash, but the reason I've chosen to use a thinned contrast paint rather than a wash is due to the nature of contrast paints. They tend to settle on the surfaces rather than running straight into the recesses, and this is what we are looking for to give a stained all over effect on the miniature. Once you've applied a coat of the contrast paint, you're going to want to leave this to sit to dry for about 20 to 30 minutes. I advise doing a batch of these to maximise your effort, but in the meantime, go make yourself a cup of tea or something. And here we see what the barrel looks like once the thinned contrast paint has dried. I'm quite happy with one coat, but you may decide that you want to apply a second. In other thoughts, how was the tea? Next, we'll be coming in with Mournfang Brown from Games Workshop. Just like in the previous step, we'll be thinning this down to a thin wash or glaze consistency. Just like in the previous step, the Mournfang Brown needs to be thinned to the consistency of a wash or a thick glaze. The mixture needs to be thin enough on the palette that it is almost translucent, and if you run your brush through it and the pigment starts to separate, then the mixture is too thin and you'll need to add a little bit more paint to it. Once we have thinned our mixture, we're going to liberally apply this all over the model. Due to the nature of this mixture, it will run into the recesses, but you will be able to use this to stain the flat areas of the model. If you believe that you've applied too much to an area, you can use either a piece of paper towel or a wet brush to move the excess paint around to get a look that you are happy with. For the last stage of the rust, we are going to be using Skrag Brown from Games Workshop. Just like in the previous two steps, we are going to be thinning this to the consistency of a thick glaze. What we are going to be doing with this is refining the orangey rust tones that we started in the previous step. Again, we can be applying this as an all-over wash, staining the surfaces, as well as running this into the recesses. What you can also do is dab the brush lightly in splodges. Don't worry, this will dry smoother than it immediately looks due to the thin consistency of the paint, to start doing some rust spots on the surfaces of the barrel. If you're going to do this, it's important to let the barrel dry vertically and to try and refrain from doing the other sides of the barrel, otherwise the paint will run and spoil the effect. Lastly, we're going to be applying some verdigris effects to the copper tones on this barrel. For this, I will be using Nighthaunt Gloom from Games Workshop. Some may prefer to use Nighthaunt Oxide, but I personally feel that the Nighthaunt Gloom thins better and has a more natural tone than the very bright Nighthaunt Oxide. What we want to do with this is to try and brush this into the recesses of any copper details that you have. You may want to use a paper towel or a wet brush to move the verdigris effects off the flat surfaces, just so that it sits in the recesses of the model. Once this has dried, the barrel is now complete, ready to go onto your table and for your models to see cover behind, like this Space Marine.